Jack Dorsey has given away about a third of his net worth and is publicly tracking how he's doing. There's a lot of transparency. It's actually pretty cool. Yesterday, people started to realize Jack Dorsey's been a little bit more active on Twitter over the last couple of days. I don't really know why, but I like it. It's cool. You know, when you see Jack kind of firing off tweets there, you get excited. Like, hey, the guy who created the platform is engaging. And he's not just responding to all the love messages. There's a couple of haters out there, trolls, etc. He's responding to them too. He's being pretty interesting, we could say. And so yesterday, Jack hinted at something that's very interesting. There is an individual, if I remember correctly, it is said this is the one thing that feels like would benefit the ETH, meaning Ethereum, ecosystem way more than it benefits Twitter. And they were talking about the fact that Twitter should have a wallet address for storing NFTs. Users could select any NFT in their wallet to use as their avatar. It would serve as one of the biggest verified layers for showcasing and distribution. And so the comment was, this is one thing that feels like it would benefit the ETH ecosystem way more than it would benefit Twitter. Jack responded and said, agreed. Every account on Twitter being able to link to a Lightning wallet, however, ... And so when you think about this, what Jack essentially was saying is, if we connected your Twitter account to a wallet that stored NFTs, that would benefit the NFTs way more than it would benefit Twitter. He's not saying that that's a bad thing or anything else. He's just saying that that doesn't necessarily benefit Twitter. But he did say, however, every account on Twitter being linked to a Lightning wallet. And so that immediately got us thinking, well, if Twitter was to actually do this, it could create one of the biggest inflection points in the history of Twitter. So for those of you that have listened to content from me for a while, you know that I've been a big believer that Twitter and Square will likely merge at some point in the future. And the idea is that in the Western world, we have yet to see a super app built from taking a leading financial company and a leading communications company and putting them together. We have them in the East, in China and elsewhere, but in the West, we have yet to see that really happen. And so the idea would be if you take Twitter and you combine it or merge it with Square, you now would have a public forum where conversation happens in real time. People have identity, they have connections, a social graph, etc. And you overlay it with financial services that would allow you to pay merchants or pay for goods and services, to be able to pay each other, etc. It's an interesting idea. But all of a sudden, when you take it from the legacy infrastructure rails and you bring it to the Lightning Network, which is the layer 2 for Bitcoin, you realize that the Lightning Network allows for something much, much more powerful. The Lightning Network allows anyone, anywhere in the world, to tap into global infrastructure and send very small amounts of money, the equivalent of pennies, to anyone else in the world, instantaneous and completely for free. Why is that so important to something like Twitter? Well, if you think about all of the financial services that could be integrated into Twitter, it's things around tipping. Joe has a great tweet. Here's a penny or two.
Penny.
John publishes something that I like and I want to read it, and he puts it behind a paywall. John, here's 10 cents so I can read your article.
Micropayments.
Or I want to listen to a Twitter Spaces and Joe and John are on there roasting each other. Maybe I could stream sats while I listen to the Twitter Spaces so that they can make some money while they're doing it. There are example after example after example where these micropayments could be super valuable. But you need infrastructure that can actually process it. And so when you start to think about the legacy infrastructure, it actually is very difficult to do micropayments. It's expensive and it's slow. But when you use the second layer of Bitcoin, something like the Lightning Network, it becomes very viable. And so if Jack was actually to go as far as to link every account on Twitter to a Lightning wallet, not only would it serve as a massive inflection point for both Twitter and Bitcoin, but it would push us much further towards Jack's vision of Bitcoin becoming a native currency for the internet. If you think of one of the problems with currency on the digital kind of landscape, every fiat currency in the world has been built to serve as the reserve currency within a certain geographic region. So in the United States, the US economy has the US dollar. In Mexico, the Mexican economy has the Mexican peso, etc. And you can go around the world and see this. Fiat currencies have been tied to geographic boundaries and geographically focused economies. But the digital economy knows no bounds. There is no geographic boundaries when it comes to the digital world. I can enter in through the portal of my smartphone or my computer, and I can communicate, and I can transact, and I can participate, hang out with, etc. anyone else in the world who also entered into that digital world through the portal of their phone or their computer. And so if now all of a sudden geography doesn't matter and the individual geographic-based economies start to fade into the background and the digital economy becomes ultimately the most important, what is the native currency of the internet? What is the native currency of that digital economy? There hasn't been one. And that ultimately is what Jack Dorsey's vision for Bitcoin is, from what I understand. And so if that actually was to occur, now you don't have to worry about exchange rates. You don't have to worry about multi-day settlement times. You don't have to worry about high cost of transactions. You simply can use Bitcoin and have everything denominated in Bitcoin and have anyone anywhere in the world accept Bitcoin, pay in Bitcoin, store their wealth in Bitcoin, etc. If Bitcoin is able to rise to become the global reserve currency of the digital economy, something like Twitter being able to link every single Twitter account to a Lightning wallet would be an immense move forward for both the company and the digital currency. Now, many people would say, why the hell would a big tech company or a centralized entity like Twitter be willing to integrate with a decentralized digital currency, something they do not control? Why would they want to plug into an open network like this? Don't these large big tech companies want control? Don't they want to have centralization? Don't they benefit from that both monetarily and also from a implementation of their vision? Of course. But Jack Dorsey is not your normal CEO. Jack had a second tweet where somebody said that big tech is scared of Ethereum. Ethereum disrupts big tech. And Jack so eloquently just said, disrupting big tech is exactly what's needed and what I want. No one technology alone will do that, though. And so what's fascinating about this, in my opinion, is that Jack Dorsey is the CEO of a big tech company, but he understands that we need to disrupt it. He understands the innovator's dilemma. He understands that if he does not disrupt the current Twitter model, then somebody else will. And so you continue to see him work on things like Blue Sky, which is a focus of creating a decentralized version and a decentralized protocol on which social networks can be built on in the future. You see him focusing on things like Bitcoin, which is a decentralized digital currency, and trying to figure out how can he integrate it into a service like Twitter. Jack Dorsey understands where the world is going, and Jack Dorsey is trying to disrupt himself. And that is usually a very, very, very rare position for somebody with such wealth and power and success to be in. Because most people would just continue to double and triple down on what's working. They would continue to try to drive as much financial gain as possible and continue to expand their control over their mini fiefdom. But Jack Dorsey understands there's a bigger play. In other tweets that we don't have pulled up, he's basically talked about the fact that it's not about the money. He's going to donate all the money anyways. It's not that it drives him. He simply wants to create a better world. He wants to bring social and economic freedom to people around the world. He's not only doing it in the United States, he's focused on other places like Nigeria, Ghana, etc. And I'm willing to bet that Jack Dorsey is going to end up using technology and create immense leverage for him and his team to be able to usher a lot of this change in. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching that clip of The Best Business Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you know when we go live every weekday, and then head to SoFi.com/pomp so that you can get an account and we can get after it.